Good afternoon and welcome to CKLS's Tuesdays with CKLS Virtual Open House Part 1. Diana's cleaning up a mess here. She's gonna she just got a box in. Okay. All right, so I'm getting an echo. Is that between you and I, Di? How are we doing? Okay, much better. Great. So today we're going to do the first half of our CKLS staff, and then next month we will share the other half of the staff. Today we're going to do tech services, um, talking books, uh, digital resources, and IT, information technology. So, and then next month you'll get to come back for outreach, youth services, and consulting and administration. So we're the kind of point of these is they will be placed on what will be the new website as soon as Andy, Liz, and Ashley build it. And they'll be placed there as a good intro to who we are and what we do. So, um, Miss Liz, will you share that screen? And we will start with a chat with Missy. The whole idea of these activities are to have a living room type of conversation. You see Missy's information there on the screen, and there will be a title card between each of our visits. Missy, we're going to have a chat. So,
Okay.
in uh, in simple terms, what do you do, and how do you help member libraries?
I order books for them from Ingram or other sources if I can't get them from Ingram. We get them in, sort them out, get them to Melissa for cataloging, then get them billed, boxed, and out the door. I also clean DVDs for libraries, and we don't have as many libraries taking advantage of that service as we'd like to see. It's an awesome machine. Get the scratches out. Blu-ray's not as good because you can't sand them, but sometimes we can make them better.
And with DVD cleaning, is it um, how long does it take you to run a single disc, or do you do a bunch at a time?
If I can, I'll do a bunch at a time. It depends on where I'm at on the sanding pads. Um, if I have all new pads and everything, I can do 50 at once. Each disc, depending on the level of cleaning, takes at least 3 minutes. The ones that have really deep scratches could be up to 5 minutes and maybe even a couple times through the machine, but most of the time we can get them looking like brand new again.
Awesome. So how do you keep track of that many? Do you have just a bunch of cases open or?
Sometimes, but the libraries do need to make sure that they have their IDs on the cases and hopefully on the disc too, and then they should send a list. They can check them out to like DVD repair and send them in that way, or just a printed list. We do have a form on the website on the no, forms and reports, I believe. There's a list that you can use, print off and use that. That way I make sure to send back what you send in.
And everything moves back and forth through a courier.
Yes.
Excellent. So you mentioned the magic words of buying books, but also you said billing. So you said you primarily use Ingram. What kind of discount are we looking at with Ingram?
For the most part, the hardcover are 43%, paperbacks 39%, graphic novels have gone to 35%. And anything under $12, I believe, is 25%. And then if it's like Kansas University Press, sometimes it's 8%. Some like Thorndike have no discount. So.
And what can libraries expect to pay shipping wise for materials that are shipped to CKLS and come out through you?
It's $2.50 per order, not per order coming to you, but an order coming to me. So if you have like a kids and an adult and we can merge them together, that will save a little bit. If I have something that I get like a $6 or $9 shipping charge, which I haven't seen for quite a while. I think we got that fixed. I try to spread it out over a lot of libraries so that they're not eating that whole cost. I don't think that's fair. So I try to not make it over 50 cents a book if I can help it. But I don't see that much anymore since I've argued with them enough.
Excellent. That's in addition to that discount, that shipping and handling is the thing that bites you when you order directly from a publisher. I remember when I first started doing this, it was don't even talk to me if you're not going to offer me reshipping right off the top because we're not even going to talk because the stuff was so expensive. So that's great. And then you said processing. What does that look like? I know I see it looks like Christmas time a few times a year in your office.
When they come to us, they are covered by Ingram. Once in a while, well, now they don't cover box sets, so we'll cover most of the box sets unless they're really skinny little ones. So, we do the spine labels, the coverings, if we need to put the barcodes and such on. I just had a thought if I can think of it again. Oh, shoot. I'll think about it. Oh, I know what I was going to say. The main difference between Ingram and Amazon is that your new bestsellers on Amazon are going to be discounted for about the same price because Ingram is supplying Amazon. But the other difference is 10 years from now, if that book's still available at Ingram, it's going to be the same discounted price that it was initially, and you're not getting a used book like you would be from Amazon. So.
Excellent. Yeah, we knew that Ingram serviced Amazon, but a few of us had an opportunity to actually get to that warehouse and to actually watch them do a print on demand item. And so with a print on demand, are you looking at a significantly higher cost?
Not always. A lot of times with the print on demand, though, the title is not on the spine, which I don't care for. And the only way that they can be returned is if they're defective when we get them. And so it's always important when you put your order together through Ingram to see if it says this item is returnable or this item is not returnable, because if it's not, it's probably a print on demand. And they're good books. They're ones you might not find everywhere else, but they're not my favorites.
So when I was early at this, we were using Ingram and I ordered the big book version of Froggy Gets Dressed. And at that time, I didn't have an option of what to do with it besides to pay for it and keep it. You mentioned returnables. If something is you discover that you have multiple copies of and they haven't been processed, they can go back.
They can. The library would pay the shipping to send it back. A lot of times it's better to just put it on the Google group and offer it up for sale to another library. Most times somebody will buy it.
And then so everything's coming to them via courier. What does it look like and what do they have to do when they get items that have come from you?
When they get their items, they need to attach their holdings in Pathfinder to let everybody know who owns it. Then there will be an invoice with the books and they turn that into their board for payment. And then payment comes to me, and then I pay Ingram for the books.
And then do you have any deadlines that libraries need to be aware of, or times that may slow down because of big orders coming in?
Our main deadline that we cut off ordering is close to Thanksgiving. It kind of depends on when it falls, trying to get the orders in in and out the door before everybody goes on vacation around here. Otherwise, with schools, it kind of depends on whether there is somebody there through the summer that's going to open the boxes, turn the bills in. And I do have a lot of schools that order in the summer. So those are the main deadlines. We try to order the new bestsellers a month or two in advance because, as I've told a lot of people, since pandemic, there's a paper shortage. They're not printing as many books as they used to. And so your new bestsellers could be out of the warehouse within a week or two of release date. So it's best to get those ordered ahead of time to give the warehouse a heads up on what the demand is. Used to be a James Patterson, we would see 50,000 copies sitting in the warehouses ready for shipment. Now we might see 10 to 12,000.
Wow. So so what's your favorite part of the job?
Probably seeing the new books come in, and getting excited along with the libraries and the patrons of what's coming out. And we'll hold them up and go, oh, look at this one, Kathy, here's a cookbook. Or, everybody in the office gets excited about new books still.
We do like when you tell us to come over and smell the new books. So the last question I have for you is, tell me what it looks like for a library who's currently not using Ingram. How do they learn how to do that, and what does that look like?
They would get a hold of me, and we would figure out a date that I could come out to the library and do some training. There's so many changes that Ingram has made over the years, because initially our librarians were just given an account, and we don't do that anymore. There's a lot of facets to Ingram that, unless you've really dug into it, you don't realize all the fun things that you can discover and the ways to search and things like that. So we would get them set up with an account and teach them how to build a cart.
And I was surprised to find out some of the unique things that Ingram has. Diane has showed me that you have ordered origami paper for her and stuff. So there's a lot more to Ingram than just the books. So
yeah, they do have games for adults and kids, and like puzzles and coloring books and socks and t-shirts, which sell out very quickly. I've seen calendars. It's the rabbit hole you can go down. I say it's kind of like Pinterest. Once you get on there and start playing, that next thing it's 2 hours later.
is that stuff at retail, or is there a discount associated with those items?
It's discounted also.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for sharing with us. Is there anything else you want us to know about your job?
I do want to say that we handle the courier through here, and we see a lot of people looking for bags online when they run out. And instead of putting it out on the Google group, just send an email to Caroline at chandwork@neckles.org. If you have an excess of bags, CKLS would be happy to take them, because it's always feast or famine around here. And you shouldn't have bags just sitting there waiting on the book that you sent to with a patron waiting to come back, because it may not go back to that library. I've seen that in libraries, that they just have it with the label in there waiting to go back. And it doesn't necessarily mean it's going back to your library again, or to the original library. So Don't sit on those courier bags.
That's important. And so when courier bags are either needed or returned, you just put a bunch of bags inside of another bag and put a label on it and go.
Yeah,
Okay.
and you don't have to put it in your count.
Okay.
So,
Excellent. Okay. And since you mentioned courier, the overages for any CKLS library are covered by CKLS. Is that correct?
yes, it is.
Okay, so did she mention numbers? So, okay. Thank you so much, Missy. And now we're going to turn our attention to another aspect of tech services. We're going to talk to Melissa. Good afternoon, Melissa. I don't know that you
Hello.
got to be a part of this so much the last time we did this, but we're glad that you're here. Now you've been on the job for just over a year. What's the
Yes.
best thing about working in a basement and cataloging books?
Just that I get to see all the new books that are coming in. As Missy said, we get really excited about the new release books and what you guys are ordering for your libraries. So that is very exciting for us.
So tell me about uh, how do you know which things you have to do for which libraries?
When you guys send your stuff in to be cataloged through the courier, um, you will have either placed your barcode on that item so we know where to return it to, or the Ingram books that are coming in. When Missy separates those and gets them set up on carts for me, she has tags that let me know which library those are going to go to, so that I know which spine label profiles to work off of for that order.
What's a spine label profile?
Each individual library has their spine label profile, which is just literally the labels that go on your spines. So they're set up with the different genre sections of your library. I know how you would like the author names, whether you want the name all the way spelled out or whether you just want abbreviations.
So do you have like standards for like say I it's a James Patterson, so is that a all in caps or is that upper and lower case? Is that depending on your spine or your profile, or is that you have some standardization?
They are literally dependent on your spine label profile.
Okay.
We make some general recommendations when we come out, but every library is different with how they would like those to be set up.
Okay. So you must have a conversation to develop that situation. So tell me what training looks like for you.
So training for cataloging, new librarians will receive training after they have seen the general consultants. That would include how to attach your items, how to search for good records, to know which records to attach those items to, and how to make temporary records for your interlibrary loan items. On the cataloging redesign structure, would also be the advanced cataloging option if that's what you choose. And when you choose that, you would then get training on editing and being able to bring those records into the catalog.
And so after if they want the advanced training, they have to do that 7-hour coursework. And then do you go back out again?
Yes, I would.
Okay, so
Yes.
there is that. Okay, and so what about those who've been Diane just said doing this for 40 years? Do they need to be retrained and matching the new standard?
Uh, yes, everybody will be brought up to the new standards. A lot of things have changed in cataloging, and we're just trying to reach some consistency when it comes to the items that our patrons are searching for in the catalog. That way, when they're requesting items, they're getting the exact items that they're requesting. And that all begins with good catalog records.
So, I know that Gail has said many times that if uh, if someone receives if someone has a problem with an item, like in terms of somebody wants to know who's in a library, for example, she uses the word that CKLS pays for the catalog or owns the catalog. So I understand that that's what some of this goal is. It's good records, but it's also that consistency in the catalog. I remember back when I was in my first library and I discovered that there were like 20 different ways that E.B. White for Charlotte's Web was in the catalog because it was whoever had done it. Some without periods, some squished together, some with
Correct.
his real name. And so that's what you're trying to avoid is that one item that might have been exactly like 30 others, but they've all been cataloged by different people.
That's exactly correct. Yep.
Okay. Okay, great. Right. That helps me understand. And I've watched your video. One Sunday night, I did my homework. I watched the first one and I took my
Okay.
little test. But it's been shared with me that if I want my hands in the catalog, just like the librarians, I also have to take the 7-hour training. I haven't had that time yet, but I am willing to do what I need to do to make certain that I'm bringing in the records that our catalog needs. So I know this has been a little bit of a challenge for some folks, but I think it'll be something we look back a year from now and just be like, it's just old hat. And all of our new librarians have they've just didn't know anything else. So what's the best thing besides looking at books? What gets you about training? What makes you all the feels?
Getting out and being able to go see our member libraries and put a face to a name. I get a lot of form requests online, so I don't always, until I've been out there, I, you know, it's nice when I can finally connect the dots and that clicks and then I can just going out there and seeing the way that you guys set up your libraries, what the things that you offer to your patrons. Those are the things that I just really do enjoy going out and seeing and visiting with the librarians when I do go out to do those trainings.
So my last question, because I watched some of the stuff that Diane catalogs here. What's the most unique or perhaps strangest thing you've ever cataloged?
Oh, okay. So, um, okay, I have one in mind that I did not too terribly long ago. An individual group of people had made all these really unique memory quilts, and they are for either autistic individuals or older individuals suffering from dementia. And so all the little lap blankets were different with the little trinkets and the little things they had on them, zippers and buttons and just all the things they could touch and feel. And so cataloging each of those individually was quite the challenge, but it was really fun. So
That's awesome. I missed those coming through. I would have liked to have seen them.
Yeah, they were very neat, very neat.
So I know that Diane catalogs some rather unusual things for our collection, books and puzzles and things, and so it's really neat to see how our librarians have embraced some of those libraries of things in addition to
Absolutely.
books and media. So, is there
Yes.
anything else that you would like us to know about you or your job?
Just that I enjoy the original cataloging. So if you have something that is a little challenging, by all means, absolutely send it in. I will, do my best to get it in the system so that our patrons will be able to search for it and find it. And otherwise, I enjoy hearing from you guys, the feedback while we're going through this catalog design project. And yeah, I just I enjoy my job very much, and I like being able to take all those little things in our catalog and hopefully get them all together so that everybody can find what they're looking for.
Thank you, Melissa. It's there's that little stereotype about the catalog always down in the basement, but we do let you outside now and then to look at the weather.
Yes.
So
Thank you,
okay.
Patty.
Thank you. Next, we're going to hear from Kathy Ron. Kathy has she does interlibrary loan for the system and sometimes for some of you, and she also is the person in charge of talking books. Good afternoon, Kathy. How are you today?
Hello, I'm just fine.
Good, good. We're going to talk about interlibrary loan first.
Okay.
Okay, so interlibrary loan was always fun to me as a user. Where I was as a child, I always had to have help until I was in high school. I wasn't allowed to borrow my own items, but by the time I was in high school, I figured out what interlibrary loan could do for me. So, uh, what is your process when a library truly cannot find something and needs your help?
Okay, if they've gone to Pathfinder and can't find it there, and they go to share it and they can't find it on share it, or maybe it goes in unfilled, which can happen quite often, then I look out of state for that item. And if I find it, which I hope I always find it, I love a challenge. Sometimes things are pretty challenging to find, but I'll request it and it'll come here to CKLS, and then I send it out on the courier to the library that requested it. So they don't have to pay postage or anything like that to get the item. So.
And so any CKLS library that strikes that within the state can call you.
Yes.
Excellent. So I love the words where it comes to them absolutely free. I
Yes.
assume that CKLS covers that postage back out to send that item back.
We do.
And then, so what happens if that or any other item doesn't make it?
Well, the borrowing library is always responsible for the item. So if I receive it back from one of our libraries and I package it up all nice and neat and everything, and I send it back and they don't receive it, then we end up receiving an invoice for that item. Because again, the borrower is responsible for returning the item. So luckily that doesn't happen too often.
So if it does happen to one of our libraries where you're at the last step, is that cost covered by CKLS, or is that at the member libraries?
We
cost?
cover the cost. So if they sent it back on the courier and it never made it, of course we contact Caroline. But then if we get an invoice, we'll pay it. We don't have the library pay that. We pick up that tab. So
it truly is a risk-free sharing and borrowing.
Yes, yes. And I encourage everybody to use it. I know there's some that are reluctant and things can take a while. That's true to get here. but they can also take a while on courier. I've had things take over a week, 2 weeks before, maybe even longer on courier. So sometimes the mail surprises me. Sometimes things get here. I just requested something 2 days ago and it was here already. It was like, wow. So don't be afraid to use out of state. Don't be afraid to contact me and say, I can't find this. And everybody on Share It keeps turning me down. They won't fill it for me. I'll look out of state for you.
Excellent. So is there anything particularly unique or unusual that you've borrowed for someone?
Oh, I wouldn't say necessarily unique, but there are some very old books that I've requested that I'm surprised that the lender has actually sent. Some of them are pretty fragile. So then I'm looking at them, thinking to myself, I hope these don't fall apart. So yeah, I'm really surprised. There are some things that I request that I think, okay, there might be one lender and there's no way I'm going to get this item. And then there's other things that I think, oh, this won't be a problem at all to get, and nobody will send it to me. So I'm always surprised at that. Like I said, I've gotten a lot of really old books that I'm surprised that I can even, one, find, and two, that they'll even send. So.
And so in like a case like that, um, does the lender have stipulations like can only be used within the library or within the librarian's view? Are those common?
Yes, there are conditions, especially with the Library of Congress. Once in a while, I will request from them. They do not renew their books, and they stipulate that the item must be used within the library, it cannot be taken out of the library. So I don't order too often from them, request too often, but I have on occasion. So, but they do have very strict limitations. And sometimes the patrons are okay with that, sometimes not. So,
And so is that information shared ahead of time through
yes.
the borrowing library? Okay, wonderful.
Yes, if the Library of Congress is the only place where I can request that, I will send an email back to the librarian and let them know that this is the only place I can find it. They have a copy available. However, there aren't any renewals, but usually that's not too much of a problem because they're pretty liberal with their checkout period. But then I'll also say in the email that the patron has to use this in the library. Do you want me to go ahead and request it? And they can have that option to say yes or no. And I've had other conditions for me where they'll say, we will send this, but you must send back in a box. Is that okay? And I'll say, yes, absolutely.
That's reasonable. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know if our member libraries realize that the Library of Congress is actually not a searchable collection. The public can get in the door, but you can't actually browse the collection like we all have the opportunity to do so. So Diane and I both made the face when we heard that you borrowed from the Library of Congress. So we didn't know that. So look at you being a rock star here. So
I didn't know I could either until a long time ago. But
I was gonna say, you don't know if you don't ask. So that's awesome. So when you go out to train someone, what can they expect to learn from you?
Okay, when I train on interlibrary loan, I train on Share It. And we go over the lender side of Share It and the borrowing side. We go over the settings, like how to set your holiday schedule, how to update your lender list, various things like that. And I enjoy doing that. That's one of my favorite parts of ILL is spending time with our librarians. And I want to say too, please always ask if you have a question about Share It. That's what I'm here for. I love to answer your questions, and I will come out and do a refresher training. I will also do log me ins at time to see what you're looking at on your screen. If I'm not sure what is going on, I'll do a log me in and then I can see what you're seeing. I love that feature. that we have that ability to do that. But that's basically what I train on. I always ask that the librarians check Pathfinder first and then go to Share It, because if it's not on Pathfinder, that's your next step. And so I trained them how to search on Share It. I trained them how to answer requests, all those good things. And there are lots of tutorials that I point in their direction that they can watch at their leisure. Those tutorials are wonderful. So I encourage you, all of you librarians that are listening or will listen to this, to take advantage of the tutorials. They're posted. You can stop them and start them anytime you want. You have, you're sitting there watching something and somebody comes in, you can stop it and go back and watch it again later. That's what's wonderful about those tutorials.
Excellent. So if say a library is having a new air conditioner unit put in and they're going to be closed for a couple of weeks, what's your step to make sure that they don't have a backlog of stuff sitting and questions asked?
We can put you on holiday, and that means when let's say you're closed from Monday through Friday, we put that starting date of Monday in, the ending date of Friday in. So that means lending requests will skip over your library while you're closed. So you don't have to worry about answering them or not answering them, as the case may be. They skip over your library. So that's also something that when I go out and train, I show right away how to set a holiday schedule. And it's really nice that you can do that. I've done that for my own account. So you can do that. You can log in from home if you have your username and password and set your own holiday schedule. If you don't have your username and password at home and you leave the library and you say, oh no, I forgot to set my schedule, you can email me, call me, and I'll make sure that your schedule gets set for you.
Thank you. That's a great feature. I have some good things in the chat you might want to hear. It says Kathy is a superstar at ILL. She helps with those hard to find items for our patrons. And she also reiterates that the tutorials will show you how to put it on holiday. And if you forget every single time how to do it, just like me. So thank you so much. Now I'd like you to tell me a little bit about the other hat that you wear that serves a different population of our patrons.
Okay, I market the Talking Books service. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with Talking Books, those are books for individuals that are physically impaired, have a temporary or permanent visual impairment or blindness, who can't read regular print or hold a book. So my job is to get the word out about this wonderful service. It's at no cost to the patron. It's state and federally and sometimes locally funded, so your tax dollars have paid for it already. When you sign up for the Talking Book service, you have to fill out an application for the service, and it has to be certified. You librarians can sign the applications. You know your population in your towns. So you are allowed to sign that application for that patron that comes in and says, I need Talking Books. I can no longer read regular print, large print. I would like to try this service. They can also have it signed by a doctor, a nurse. There's certifying authorities that are listed on the application who can sign it. And I will say this is for all ages. It's not just for the elderly population. We've had children as young as 3 years old using Talking Books. And the State Library of Kansas has a Talking Books tab with a ton of information on there, an overview. They have an application that you can download and print off. You can scan it and email it to Emporia, which is our regional library for Kansas, our regional Talking Book library. You can also print it off and send it regular mail, but all of our applications go to Emporia and they process it within 3 business days. And if the individual wants the Talking Book player, they will send the player and a couple of the books through the mail, free matter, to get the patrons started on their service. The books are digital cartridges. I know some people still call them cassettes, but thankfully they're not cassettes. They're digital cartridges, which is just a flash drive encased in plastic. And they come in blue containers. And again, they are dropped in the mail, free matter. The same thing with the player. The player is sent free matter to the patron. They never have to pay for anything. They don't have to pay for postage. They don't have to pay for overdue books. They don't have to pay for lost books or lost equipment either. We try to make it as stress-free as possible for them.
Speaking of stress-free, I remember when my dad passed, my stepmother was in wanting to get everything out of the house. And I remember I was beyond my abilities to deal with one more thing. And I remember coming in and putting the box with the green cassettes on your desk and going, could you please? And you're just like, yeah, it's what we do. And so so that's good for our libraries to know if they
Yes,
truly don't know what to do, call
they
you
can
and you'll
send
guide
it.
them through the steps. And so,
Yes, yes. And if they have equipment that a patron brought in, digital books, and they're no longer wanting to use the service, you can send that stuff to me on the courier. You can, and then I'll take care of it. I'll send it on to Emporia so you don't have to deal with that.
excellent. So I know my dad, I talked him into talking books when he could no longer hold his book any longer.
Mhm.
And so is talking books a service if, say, someone's had a surgery where they're not able to hold a book, is or does it have to be a different kind of disability?
No, you can use it temporarily. If you break your arm, for instance, and you have surgery, you can actually use talking books temporarily for that until you're healed. If you have cataracts and your vision's blurry, you can use a talking book service. And a lot of people, once they have that surgery for cataracts, they can see just fine. They no longer need it. So it's just not about blindness or visual impairments. It can be for somebody who's had a stroke, Parkinson's, individuals that are undergoing cancer treatments and they're weak, they can use the service as well.
And so so would they be re-eligible? Like you mentioned cataract surgery, because
Mhm.
you get 5 good years out of it and then you might need the help again. So you can reapply and
Yes,
okay.
yes. In fact, we've had patrons that have used their talking book service and they got started on it and they said, well, I don't think I need this. And then, okay, you can send everything back. That's fine. And then maybe 6 months later, I kind of miss my talking books. I am having trouble with my eyes. Can I get my service back again? And we always tell them, of course you can. Yes, absolutely. So,
Excellent.
and then if they start their talking book service in Kansas and they move to Missouri, they don't have to cancel their service here and start all over again in Missouri. Their service will follow them because it's the same all the way across the United States.
Excellent. So what's your favorite part of serving our Talking Books patrons?
My favorite part is going out to the senior fairs, the health fairs, having a talking books booth, talking to people that come by. And sometimes I do meet my patrons that are on the service. And then I meet new people that are interested in a service. I love doing that. I love marketing the talking book service. That is the most fun for me.
Excellent. Yeah, we're all a little jealous of you because all the rest of us and we love our librarian patrons, but you actually also get to actually see the public.
Yes.
So thank you so much for sharing with us about the two vitally important services that you managed to switch hats between all day long.
I
So
love both. So thank
thank
you, Patty.
okay. Ashley, you've been a very popular lady lately. You're up next. Ashley is our digital resources manager. She handles the Pathfinder Koha catalog. She also takes care of Sunflower e-Library for us, as well as Library Aware, and she's probably got 32 other things she does that I don't even know about. So Hello,
Aspen is
Ashley.
also on there.
What's that?
Aspen is also on there.
Aspen's also on there. So
Yes.
let's start there. Tell us what
Okay.
Aspen is.
So Aspen is the patron side of the catalog. Just like we look at the catalog, we call it Koha. Some people call it Pathfinder. The patron side is called Aspen, and it does look a little different, but it's a lot easier, more user friendly. Just no fancy language.
And I noticed it has that little rolling book list, kind of like Amazon, if you like this kind of thing. So it is more like an Amazon shopping experience than it is for us as we check out materials. So that called an overlay, right? Is that the word? So how what does John Q. Public, when he looks at his phone, what's he going to look for to access his library stuff?
So the nice thing about Aspen is that it is user friendly and it can be viewed in different devices. But there is also another thing called Lita, which is the app that is for Aspen. So the patron can either be using the app or they can be using their web browser to look at the catalog there. And they can, I mean, they don't even have to really log in to view the catalog. They can just search. Once they click on a title, they can scroll down. It'll tell them titles that are related to that, maybe authors that are similar to them. It'll also tell you where the book is located, like which library, because we're all connected. So it shows it available at all of our libraries. And yeah, it's really user friendly. It's like shopping. Yeah.
And we know that you're good at shopping, so this is a good place for you. So with that, so when that patron makes the decision at that point, then they have to log in if they want to put an item on hold. What do they need to log in, either using Aspen or the Lita app?
So to log in, that depends on how you have the patron's account set up. What we did a while back was we made it so that all patrons use their card number as their username, and then they set their own password. We did this because we don't want first name, last name, because we don't want anything with security, any problems with that. So it's a lot more secure if they have to look at their card, and as annoying as it is, type in their 16-digit card number. So
Yeah, it's safer for them, because if their phone does get picked up, that is much safer because their personal information is tied to that number. So you got really popular last week over a really slow catalog, and we kept hearing about the bots. Tell us what happened.
okay, so the way I've been explaining this, which I think is the easiest way to explain it, since AI has become so popular, what AI does is it like goes into the website. It has a bunch of bots. We call them a bunch of bots that just skim the website and get all the information they need. So what's been happening with our catalog is that while all of us are trying to do our normal day-to-day library work, there's also hundreds or thousands of bots on there trying to learn everything about our system too. So that is a lot of people or a lot of things that are clogging up the system, making it really, really slow. So what we're in the process of doing right now is going behind this thing called Cloudflare. And you won't see all the steps that we have to do in the background. But what it does, it kind of sets up a little wall so that it blocks out all the bots and just lets us real people go in and do what we need to do in there.
So because you mentioned AI and you mentioned bots, is our as safe as it can be, is our personal information safe?
Yes, they are in there more to get information, like so book information that we have some, all of our cataloging information, how certain things work and those types of questions. Not so much they're not after information and logins and those types of things.
They're trying to figure out how the system works.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what does a day in the life for Ashley look like? We're all laughing.
every day is a little different. I start by checking my email and seeing what problems I have to solve for the day, which is my favorite part. Um, and I also have my running list of things and projects I want to work on and things I want to improve. But fixing the issues that are going on take priority.
So nobody just learns how to do this. What does training look like with you?
So it's kind of I don't know, there's some basic training as a brand new librarian. You'll learn how to log in, you'll learn how to check things in, check things out, place holds, run your holds, the things that you need to do in your day-to-day librarian life. And then we can get a little even more complicated with learning how to run reports. And then Melissa shows you how to catalog and those types of things.
So reports on the lines of things like materials overdue. Earlier today, somebody was talking last seen. What does last seen mean?
Last seen is last that it had anything to do with Koha. So when you check a book in, when you check a book out, or anything like that, it just logs it where it's at.
So if there was a whole bunch of things that said last seen 2014, what's the likelihood those items are actually in your library?
They haven't been near the catalog desk or the circulation desk, so they could just be sitting on a shelf somewhere, which is probably pretty likely. So that's kind of what happens with items that say they've been in transit to your library for 3 years. First thing we tell you to do is go check on your shelf because there's a pretty good chance that it just didn't get checked in and just got reshelved. And that's one of the things I like to say is when in doubt, check it in, because Koha will tell you what to do with it.
And so, speaking of things that tell you what to do, you recently just had this situation happen with printing slips that were moving materials in between. Tell us how that fun situation happened.
So we all share the catalog. And so printing hold slips, and that's another privacy thing. We want to make sure we're protecting our patrons' privacy. And that means when a book is being sent out of our library, and we're not talking about as soon, it doesn't leave our hands and go to someone else's hands immediately. We go through courier, and a lot of things can happen. So we don't want any of the patron information out there. So I think everyone agreed that it would be good just to remove all the patron information, because I mean, if I'm sending a book out to a library, I just need to know it's going to a library, not specifically the name of the patron, their address, their phone number. I don't need all of that information. So that's why we went ahead and removed that. And so when you receive a book that's on hold for your patron, the slip doesn't tell you a lot of information, but that's when in doubt, you check it in. And then Koha tells you what to do or who it's on hold for. And the new slip will print with your patron's name, phone number, address, and if they have an email, and a nice little checklist that allows you to check things off if you checked if the email was sent or if the phone call was made to the patron.
Excellent. Yeah, I've been at this a while, and frankly, we didn't think about it for a long time because we had sent things through Interlibrary Loan for years doing that. But we forget that something can happen once it leaves our hands, and so yes, keeping patron information safe is important. And so just a reminder, as you have those slips that the patron doesn't keep as a bookmark, that information is private and it does need it to be shredded, not turned into sticky note paper for your desk. So make sure anything that contains patron information does get shredded, and you keep it all in a little bag and do it at once. But yeah, those are some things to remember. So when we get into the next step, uh, where we're dealing with the more inner workings. So do you go up and train how to, um, which report to use? Say you're going to weed a collection. Do you show them what those steps are, and then what gives, and how to read the report, I guess is kind of what I'm asking.
Mhm. So in my little binder that I hand them once for when we're training, there's some reports to run that are good to run weekly, and there's some that are good to run monthly. So those will be the on the way to my library, but not here yet. So that's where we can catch those items that, hey, where are they? It's been, 14 days, rather than we catch it in 2 years, then it's a little far gone then. And then there's also other reports that are just good to run for other things, other questions that you have in Koha. I learned quite a bit about reports and building some, and I built my own for the first time a little bit ago. Well, not a little bit ago, but like a few weeks ago. And so, yeah, I was really proud of myself about that.
And,
Yeah.
and so I guess I just have one more question about the catalog itself. Missy pointed out when somebody sends her a chunk of DVDs, they check them out to something. I guess I didn't ask Melissa or Missy, when stuff comes out of tech services, is it checked out to something, or is it just living there in limbo um, when it gets to them? Do you know that answer?
I don't know it for sure, but I believe they would check it in so that the location updates. Because
Okay,
even if you don't check it out to a certain, I guess I would call it a patron, to a certain account, as long as you
right.
check it in, it updates the location. And then
Okay,
it's not just in transit anymore, it's at the said location.
so you know where it's going. Okay. So you have a couple other hats that you wear. Tell us what Sunflower e-Library is and how our libraries and patrons use.
That's another one that has a lot of different names, and different people can call it different things, but it is ran by Overdrive. We know it as the app is Libby. Um, Sunflower still does the, I want to call it like the children's side of ebooks. And that is just reading online. So digital books. And that is connected to the catalog as well. So that's another nice thing about Aspen. If you've never been on Aspen, it's a really good idea to just go on there and see what your patron's seeing. Because if your patron looks up a book, it'll show you that it's available in print at this library, but it's also available to check out. And if your library also offers Hoopla, it'll show them the Hoopla to check it out there. But the nice thing about Aspen is that they can even check out the book on Libby using Aspen. They can click checkout, and they can grab their phone and open their Libby app, and it'll start downloading it. So Aspen is a really nice one-stop shop for them.
I
Even
love
though
that.
we weren't talking about Aspen right now.
But no, but they're, like you said, they're all connected
They are.
together. So what if there's an item on Sunflower on my app that I have looked at, and I looked at it and I was number 1268 on the user list.
I mean, that happened to me and I'm still on the list, but it'll tell you, and you can just keep checking back. And on Aspen, it'll tell you what number you are in line there as well. So that's like what I like about Aspen, since you can see that you're going to be waiting for a long time for the ebook. I just went ahead and got the physical book. I just placed a hold on it, and I read it 3 months ago, and I'm still on I'm still on a waiting list for the Sunflower one. But that is also a way to build your library and use your collection development money. So you can put money towards those so that there aren't 400 people waiting for one book. Instead, you can have 3 books, and then those people can be waiting for those 3 books. And that really shortens the line. So that might be something you want to look into, and check your numbers to see how many of your patrons are using digital books versus the physical books.
And so if they wanted to order, I don't know, order a book that they've had on hold for a while, Gail has explained that we have something called Advantage. So basically, you're paying for CKLS people to get it first, and then when those holds run out, then anybody has free borrowing of it. But how do we actually buy that item?
So to do that, you would get with Gail or I believe Liz as well, and we would walk you through how to purchase through the Advantage collection.
Excellent. And then another hat that you wear is something called Library Aware. Tell us what that is.
So Library Aware is where you go to create marketing pieces for your library. So kind of like there's Canva, there's Publisher, there's all these other things, but this is for libraries. And it's so nice because it connects to the catalog. You can scan a barcode of a book and it brings up the picture, the description, it brings it all up. It connects it all. And if you're doing like an email newsletter, it makes the book clickable. So they click it and it goes straight to the catalog. It's all connected. And another nice thing about it is that it puts your library information at the bottom, because as we know, that is one of the requirements when you submit a flyer, that you need to have your library information on it.
I have to admit that that's my favorite thing. When we first got Library Aware, I accidentally chose things that weren't branded at the bottom, and I found myself pretty angry with myself having to start over again.
Right.
So if someone is comfortable with Publisher or Canva, what's the learning curve for learning Library Aware?
I would say it's a lot more user friendly than both of those. I was a Publisher person before I went to Library Aware for the first time when we first got it. I want to say 8 years ago. I don't remember how long it's been, but it's been a long time. And it was super easy for me to get onto. It has nice little images, like, the little picture with the mountain on it. Oh, that means I'm adding a picture. You can insert a link. Some of them are drag and drop. It's pretty user friendly, and once you get used to it, yeah, it's pretty easy to use. And the nice thing about it is that they don't change it as often. I know when I go to use Canva, I'll go to use it 2 weeks later, and well, the buttons are on the right side, not on the left side, and the layout has all changed, and I just need to relearn how to use it again. With Library Aware, that's not how it is. It's kind of that things stay where they are, because we kind of like that. We like to know what we're looking at and what we're getting into.
That's nice that it keeps the process a little easier.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was not a fan at the beginning, because I also came from a publisher world, and I did try my hand at Canva, and I quickly realized how easy Library Aware was. And I've trained on Library Aware when I've been in libraries before. I found that they're able to make a flyer within a few minutes after they've got the practice set down. So do you go and train on all of these things together, or do you train on them separately?
I train on them separately just because you don't want to have information overload. I know what it's like okay, you're going to learn 50 things today. Are you ready? And by the 10th thing, your brain is done and you're shut off and you don't absorb any of the rest of it. So with Library Aware, you can get as simple as you want, or you can get as complicated as you want with your flyers, creating newsletters. You can make things clickable. You can do all these fancy things, but you can also just make a simple flyer for an event that you got going on that you want everyone to know about and that it's at your library.
And I love the templates where I can already see what it looks like. And if I don't have time, I can just change my library name, save it, and use it. And so it does have some really great features. And yeah, I agree. I've sat in some of those 4-hour training sessions, and our librarians are like, okay, are they ever going to leave? And so yeah, we don't want to overstay our welcome. So
Yeah.
um, and so I'll leave you with what's your favorite part of what you're doing?
I kind of mentioned it a little earlier, but my favorite part is helping people solve their problems. Just whatever makes people's lives easier, whether it's our librarians or sometimes I get calls from patrons asking why their Libby won't work or why their account is locked up, and just being able to help them and fix things for them.
Thank you, Ashley. You have gone leaps and bounds in your 6 months here, and we're so happy to have you taking care of our digital resources.
Thank you.
Our last department we'll talk to today, we're going to talk to Andy with IT services. Good afternoon, Andy.
Hello.
So what is it that you do all day long? Because there seems to be a
Uh,
whole lot of thinking going on in your office.
uh, it just depends on the day.
So we know that in the building, when my mouse doesn't work and I call you to my desk, and even before you've touched anything, my mouse works. Does that happen when you're out in libraries as well?
Sometimes, yeah, sometimes. So what mostly I do is I'm the IT person for however many libraries we have now, and that's computers, printers, um, networking stuff, all that kind of stuff. So if you have an issue, give me a call or shoot me an email, and I'll come and figure out what your problem is.
So of all of us on the team, you seem to be the one that drops everything and goes out. All the rest
Mhm.
of us are able to solve some problems from here, but you seem to be the one that has to get on the road kind of at the most immediate situations. Um, have you ever arrived somewhere and realized that this is not an hour fix, that this is an 8 or 12 hour fix?
Not that way. No, actually, which is a good thing. Sometimes like,
So
oh, well, I need to, sometimes if there's something that will take me longer than I have, I'll bring the computer back to the office and fix it and then go back up. But thankfully, no, there's not been any big issues like that.
so that means our libraries are doing the things they can do to kind of keep their stuff safe. So um, Kathy mentioned log me in, and I
Mhm.
know that's something that you're responsible for. What does that do for the library on the other end?
So with LogMeIn, we can remote into um, a library's computer and either do something for them or follow along as they're trying to learn how to do something. So
And what is
it's
it
a
that
remote access software.
okay, so what is it that you're able to do for them sitting at your desk rather than sitting in their library?
I can do some quick troubleshooting and see if it's something I need to come up to do or not.
And so the other thing I know I've asked you to help me price out computers for grants that people are writing. Tell me what that looks like for you in terms of libraries needing new computers.
So I've had lots of libraries ask me to do what I call a tech audit, where I'll come up and I'll go through and find out how old everything is, what kind of condition it's in, um, what's working, what's not, what they don't need anymore, and then we'll discuss plans for replacement schedules and all that kind of stuff. And when they're ready for replacements, I'll um, put together a list of stuff they should buy, and when it arrives, I'll go up and install it for them.
Excellent. So what are you seeing in terms of the libraries you visit regarding public access computer use?
It's down quite a bit. Um, just in general, most people have a device nowadays. But they're still people still do use the computers. So, but
And
a lot of libraries have lowered the number of computers they have for public access in recent years.
and so because of that, are libraries going towards mobile printing?
Yeah, some of them do that. There's no easy answers for that one in the small library world because if you want a professional solution, it costs money.
Yes. That's what I figured. So if um so I know that you went out and took a couple of staff members with you yesterday. And I keep hearing those dreaded words of Windows 11. What does that look like for what you're doing right now?
So we're going through and we're updating all the computers that can be updated to Windows 11 from Windows 10 to Windows 11. And unfortunately, anything that's older than about 2019 is going to be a brick box because Microsoft's not going to offer security updates after October 2025. So that's been a big push so far this summer, and hopefully we'll get it done before October 2025.
So so tell me what a computer without the ability to do security updates, what's the danger there?
So you're opening up your patrons or yourself to having your identity stolen, getting viruses, all the bad stuff you don't want a computer to do for you.
And you always seem to do things with a smile, and that's I think that face is about the most serious face that I get from Andy regarding our computers because we do even as system staff, we get very lax on some of those things, and Andy's always all about telling us to change our passwords and keep ourselves safe. If uh if password seems to be the thing that you talk to us most about, is there anything else that you would say would be just general good computer practice that we could share easily with our patrons?
Uh, don't just open random emails with links and or attachments. If you don't know who sent it to you, don't open it. Just delete it. If it's important, they'll get a hold of you some other way and say, "Hey, you need to open this." When you Google stuff, try to use websites that look or sound like you've heard of them before. Don't just click on whatever random sponsored first link pops up in Google. Um, when you try to download stuff, find the right download button and pay attention to what you're doing as far as installing programs and stuff like that. Always make sure that your antivirus is up to date. Most of our libraries use Windows Defender, which is built into Windows 10 and 11, and it's actually really good. You just have to make sure that the updates are running properly. On your page computers, you need to make sure deep freeze is always locked. Sometimes uh, librarians forget to lock it back down after they have to unlock it for some reason. And I think the most important thing is if you have a problem, just give me a call and we can work through the problem.
Actually, those are the words that we say kind of across the board here. Um, we can't help you if we don't know, and so thank you for reminding us of those important words. So I've asked others, what's your favorite part of this?
It's never the same thing every day.
Excellent. And he also kind of gets stuck being the guy around here, but he doesn't seem to mind too much. He whenever there's a hammer or a screwdriver around, we can always count on Andy to take that project on. So thank you, Andy, for spending some time with us today.
No problem.
We want to thank you all for joining us for the first half of our virtual tour. It kind of gives you a little bit of understanding of what we do, but it also connects you to the face. Liz has assured me that when she puts up the YouTube link, that she'll put the chapters in. So if you need to go back and hear the things that Kathy told you today, those chapters will be there. And that's why we put those title cards in. So we will do part 2 next month with some more challenging questions for outreach services, youth services, consulting, and the things that our administration does beyond what Gail currently does for us. So that's how we'll take Tuesdays with CKLS for July. We also have Explorers on July 29th and August 20th. And we have, thank you, Brittany, for reminding me that there was a library director meeting and in August, and there's a Tuesdays with CKLS on partnerships. And then we finally get to August 27th, which is the full system board meeting that will be held in Russell. And the information as well as the registration link for the full system board meeting, which does include the R&R hearing and the budget hearing. And that information will be out to you by the 1st of July.